5 habits that changed my life. In 1 week, these lessons will change your life. There is a peculiar kind of ache that settles in the bones when your days begin to feel borrowed. Not painful, just muted, like standing in a fog that stretches in every direction. Nothing is wrong, yet nothing is right. The laughter you fake doesn't echo. The dreams you once nurtured gather dust in the corners of your mind. You start to question if the life you're living is truly yours, or a second-hand script someone else wrote for you. I stood at the edge of one of those dull weeks, where everything looked fine on paper but felt utterly hollow. And something inside me, a small, exhausted voice, murmured, "Enough." The turning point wasn't dramatic. No crisis, no epiphany, just a moment of rare honesty. I didn't need therapy. I needed integrity. I needed to stop outsourcing responsibility for my own dissatisfaction. I drew a line in the mental sand and made a vow. 5 habits, 7 days, 1 promise to follow through without the usual self-bargaining. No cheat days, no mental loopholes, just raw commitment. If I couldn't change my life forever, could I at least change 1 week? What happened after that surprised me. The first 2 days felt like dragging a reluctant dog through a rainstorm. But something shifted on the 3rd morning. The excuses started to lose their grip. The resistance, that old familiar voice, softened into curiosity. Could it be that I'd been the architect of my own stagnation? Could it be that what I called burnout was just boredom dressed as fatigue? 1 week, that's all I gave myself. But what I gained felt like an inner resurrection. The habits weren't glamorous. They didn't require apps, gurus, or mantras. They demanded something much rarer: intention, attention, integrity. They were old-fashioned in their simplicity, but profound in their effect. It wasn't about optimizing every second. It was about showing up like my life depended on it. Because in many ways, it did. No more chasing miracles. No more waiting for external validation. I turned inward, and there I found the raw materials of transformation: discomfort, clarity, and a quiet kind of discipline that didn't scream, but hummed like a steady engine. By the 7th day, I wasn't healed, but I was awake. And there is nothing more dangerous to a passive life than a person who has finally decided to wake up. 1. I woke up at 5 a.m. without negotiation. The hardest part wasn't the alarm. It was the part of me that believed I didn't have to do hard things anymore. That comfort was a reward I had earned. But comfort, when stretched too long, rots the soul. So I declared war on the snooze button, not for productivity, not to hustle, but to reclaim the morning before the world touched it. At 5 a.m., life is different. The air feels wiser, the light feels shy, the silence feels like a secret waiting to be read. I didn't jump into cold showers or do yoga on a cliff. I just sat, with breath, with stillness, with pen and paper. It wasn't a schedule, it was a ritual. That hour, untouched by demands and voices, reminded me that I'm still the author of my own life. The temptation to scroll, to distract, to flee, it all melted away in that sacred solitude. When you rise before the sun, you stop living reactively. You start living deliberately. Something happened by day 4. I stopped needing the alarm. My body anticipated the ritual. My thoughts, once cloudy and panicked, began arriving in coherent strands. I had time to think before the world gave me things to worry about. My stress didn't vanish, but it no longer ambushed me. I met it at the gate with presence. Waking up at 5 a.m. didn't make me superior. It made me sovereign. By the end of the week, those mornings had stitched themselves into my identity. I no longer needed a reason to wake up. The act itself was the declaration. I'm here. I'm not waiting for life to hand me permission. I'll carve my place into the day before anyone else knows I'm awake. And in that small defiance of inertia, I discovered a reservoir of calm I didn't know I had lost. You don't need to wake up early to be successful. But if your soul is drowning in noise, if you've forgotten what your own thoughts sound like, then maybe the silence of 5 a.m. has something to offer, something priceless, something eternal. 2. I moved until I couldn't hear my doubt anymore. I didn't join a gym. I didn't count reps. I didn't look for abs. I moved because my body had become a stranger to me. Sedentary limbs, slouched shoulders, breath that never reached the belly. I was alive, but not embodied. So I started walking. I did push-ups until the floor felt like home. I danced in my room like a lunatic on the verge of genius. I ran until the chatter in my head fell behind me like dust. There is something unspeakably holy about sweat. You can't fake it. You can't shortcut it. Your body rewards you with aliveness. The ache in my legs wasn't pain. It was memory. A reminder that I once had rhythm, fire, momentum. By day 3, I noticed something wild. My posture changed. I wasn't just walking straighter. I was carrying myself like someone who had somewhere to go. And for the first time in months, I actually did. The movement wasn't about calories. It was about currency. Movement pays off in confidence. It deposits belief into the mind. Every time I moved past my own resistance, I earned back self-respect. And let me tell you, nothing hits harder than keeping your word to yourself when nobody's watching. By day 5, I didn't even have to force it. Movement became something I craved. I didn't need loud music or motivation speeches. I needed my feet, the ground, and a little defiance. My body had been waiting for me, and now that I had shown up, it welcomed me with strength I didn't remember I had. You can read all the books. You can plan your life down to the last detail, but until your body believes in your decisions, they're just theories. Move. Let your cells catch up to your intentions. Let your bones sweat out the apathy. Let your muscles learn the rhythm of change. You are not a thought. You are a force that needs to move. 3. I spoke to myself like someone I wanted to believe in. You don't realize how cruel you've been to yourself until you try being kind, not polite, not motivational poster kind, real kindness, the kind that holds you accountable without dragging you through the dirt. I caught myself, again and again, whispering things I would never say to a child. Lazy, stupid, you'll never change. It had become a script so familiar, I forgot I was the one writing it. So I rewrote it, not with fake affirmations, but with truth, the kind that doesn't flatter, but liberates. When I slipped, I didn't curse myself. I paused. I breathed. I said, "You're not broken. You're learning." I didn't excuse my failures. I contextualized them. I treated my inner world like it was a place worth renovating, not demolishing. It felt strange at first, like trying on a coat that didn't fit yet. But each day, the words fit a little better. There's a tone your soul responds to, a voice inside that's been waiting to be spoken to with love instead of judgment. I began finding that tone, not soft, but sincere. When I did well, I celebrated, not with fanfare, but with acknowledgement. When I fell short, I adjusted, not with shame, but with strategy. The more I practiced, the more my self-talk became less of a courtroom and more of a conversation. By the 5th day, I wasn't just surviving my thoughts. I was trusting them. That's what nobody tells you. Confidence doesn't come from external wins. It comes from believing your own voice, not the loud, panicked one that parrots old insecurities, but the quiet one that's been buried under years of self-abandonment. Kindness, when aimed inward, isn't weakness, it's rebellion. In a world addicted to comparison, self-compassion is revolutionary. I chose, every single day that week, to rebel against my old narrative. And with every kind word, I built a new one. No one else will live inside your head. Make it a place you'd actually want to stay. 4. I protected my energy like it was sacred. There was a moment, sharp, uninvited, when I realized I was more tired from people than from work. Not because people are inherently exhausting, but because I had left every door open, every ding, every DM, every "can I just call you for a minute?" I had confused accessibility with kindness, and that mistake was costing me my peace. So I closed the gates, not out of bitterness, but necessity. I stopped replying to every message. I put my phone in another room. I chose silence over obligation. You wouldn't leave your front door wide open at night, so why was I leaving my mental space unguarded? The digital world is a thief dressed in dopamine, and I was handing it my hours like they were disposable. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors you choose when to open. That week, I became deliberate about who got access to me, not in a rude way, in a responsible one. My attention is currency, and I was done going bankrupt. I turned off notifications. I unplugged during meals. I let myself walk without a podcast drilling productivity into my ears. What emerged was astonishing. Clarity, space, a mind that could breathe again. I noticed birds. I noticed the texture of bread. I remembered things without having to set reminders. It was as if my brain had been underwater, and I finally came up for air. I also learned this. Some people won't like your boundaries. They will call it selfish, cold, distant. Let them. You're not responsible for explaining your peace to people committed to chaos. The ones who love you will adapt. The ones who don't were using your silence as an all-access pass. Your energy is sacred. Guard it like it's your last matchstick on a cold night. Because sometimes it is. 5. I finished what I started, even when no one cared. I used to be a master of beginnings, notebooks with first pages filled, new routines scribbled on calendars, bold declarations made with trembling resolve. But by the third day, the fire would dim. I'd blame life, time, luck. But the truth was simpler, more brutal. I had a habit of abandoning myself. I'd leave promises half-kept and call it being realistic. So I made a new rule. If I start it, I finish it. No applause, no audience. Just me and the task. I read books cover to cover. I completed workouts even when I hated them. I cleaned corners of my room that had never seen light. I wrote paragraphs that bled. I kept going. Not because it was easy, but because I needed to prove to myself that I wasn't a liar. You begin to walk differently when you become someone who finishes. Your spine straightens. Your voice steadies. There's no need to explain yourself. You have evidence. Integrity becomes your rhythm. That week taught me something most people never learn. It's not motivation you need, it's completion. The dignity of closure, the satisfaction of knowing you didn't flinch. No one celebrated me that week. No parade. No post went viral. But in my private world, something irreversible occurred. I became dependable to myself. And that trust, that quiet inner certainty, it's worth more than any spotlight. We live in a world of infinite beginnings, but the real magic lives in the finish. Conclusion. 7 days that broke the spell. They say nothing changes in a week. I disagree. Everything changed. Not because the world got brighter, but because I finally did. These 5 habits weren't magic tricks. They were mirrors. They showed me who I really was beneath the noise. They revealed how much I had been avoiding myself, numbing myself, underestimating myself. You don't need a life coach. You don't need a perfect plan. You need 7 honest days. 7 days where you wake up when you say you will. Move even when your muscles scream. Speak to yourself like you matter. Guard your energy like it's treasure. Finish what you promised, and then do it again. Most people never get to know who they really are because they never stay long enough in discomfort to meet themselves. I did, for 1 week. And the man I met wasn't perfect, but he was real, and real is enough. Give yourself 7 days, just 7. If it doesn't change your life, it will at least remind you how much power you still have. You are not your bad habits. You are the fire that burns beneath them, waiting to rise.